that we all are born with this magical power, which is called willpower. But if you don't exercise it, then it will rust. The only advice I can give to students is be aware of what you are reading, what you are listening, who are you taking advice from. Don't hesitate to ask a question in a doubt in the class. And please remember as teachers that we don't have to be perfect. Stuff like creative thinking, critical thinking, and decision making. Considering there are so many choices for everything, I think decision making becomes really one of the very important aspects.
A very warm welcome to the official podcast of Rachna Sagar Private Limited with Manav Sthali School. When we think of school, we think of bells ringing, morning assemblies, and the neatly written timetables. But behind all structured and disciplined things lies a very calm and commanding presence. Today we have Miss Deepti A. Bhatnagar, the principal of Manav Sthali School with us, where she will be telling us about the things and guiding us that how should we navigate through the changing landscape of education. Hello, welcome to the podcast, ma'am.
Hello, good morning.
Ma'am, we are honored to have you for the exciting session, and it's really great to have the heartbeat of the school to have a conversation and to know that how educational landscape is changing and what a teacher brings to the students. So, should we start the session?
Definitely.
Ma'am, what do you think? How should we balance the students' academic pressure and their well-being?
I think lately there's been a lot of focus on mental well-being, even by NEP and by the Department of Education, which is very nice. When I was young and when I was a student, it was very easy to have the well-being in focus because we were not as aware and as focused as the current generation is. They're very well aware, they're very focused on what they want and what they need by when they want. So I think yes, mental well-being is very important and students should just remember that anything in excess is bad. It's an old saying, right? So when you study and prepare for your exams, you must ensure that you keep some time for relaxation, pick up a hobby, whether it's music, art, a walk. When I was a kid and when I did my board, so after studying together with, I would go for a walk. And I actually used to always revise my 10th and 12th. That's how I did. I used to go for a long 1 hour walk. And in my mind, I would revise. I would sometimes even, while reading the book, I would speak and record. And then actually, I'll hear that while I used to walk. So it would like do a dual purpose. I would get good fresh air, which is a little rare now. But yes, I'm sure if you go in the morning time for a walk. So just pick up an activity that can relax you. Have time for your parents. Have time for your siblings. Even during your exams time, sit with them for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, talk to them. Sometimes parents can throw an advice or a tip at you that you will not even realize that it was a tip. So yes, spend time with family, friends. Make sure that you pick up a hobby to relax between your studying, and something for mental well-being, which is very critical this time is, please switch off your phone for some time.
Yes.
Right? So phones and screen times I think is really bad, and we should all try and consciously take time to cut off from that. I personally have tried this and I'm very happy. And I think those screen lights and everything that science says, it actually does affect your mental well-being. So yes, cut off from the screen time.
Ma'am, this conversation reminds me of a thing that we have different type of learners in class. Some are visual learners, some are kinesthetic learners, and some are auditory learners. So I guess auditory learners are the learners like you. And what about the different sort of learners we have in class? How should a teacher cater to them?
The good thing is that we are progressing and we have a lot of digital support these days. So today I think most of the schools in metro cities would have smart classes.
Yes.
And a teacher definitely uses a smart board, some online content which he has planned and organized to show. A class where a teacher is talking and children are listening. It's more of an interactive class where a teacher will discuss something, will probably show a video, pause it, discuss it further. And I think now a lot of content after NEP being introduced is coming on activity-based things are coming in classrooms. As I was recently told that together with her, has introduced some special kits which talk about activity centric or a playway method of teaching. So that really helps. Out of classroom activities help. And in our school at Manav Sthali, we do a lot of integrated work. So we will have sports integrated to maths.
Okay.
We'll have English integrated with art. One of my favorites, so we always, every year we do exhibit. So our homeworks in summer holiday is always integrated. So the child does not feel that they have 10 subjects to do. So they'll actually get one project which covers 2 or 3 subjects. So this summer the kids did a very interesting project which was about Sikkim sustainability, and they did it with a maths game. So they had to develop a game based on mathematics which would eventually lead you to answers about sustainable Sikkim. So I think we covered a lot of that. Kids really enjoy it, and to them it was no more a burden of learning, but it was more about fun.
Yeah, that was actually something of their interest.
Yes.
They wanted a game, you gave them a game.
Yes.
That's great. Like you have, you made a learner to be a creator in that particular role.
True. I think that's the need of the
Yeah.
Yes.
So you are catering to everything, the experiential learning, the 5 C's of NEP, and the hands-on learning activities, and making the kids future ready.
Definitely. I think every school, what they do, I would speak for every school that exists, is we never prepare kids for today or tomorrow or for paper that is coming.
Yeah.
We have to prepare kids for 10 years ahead, because by the time they get down into the real world and look for jobs, they should have skills for that time. So the schools always have to walk one step ahead to understand what are the skills that will be required and work accordingly. So in last decade, Manav Sthali has introduced vocational subjects like marketing, sales, tourism. We have AI. So something that will help kids to get jobs later in life, be independent, try and do something that they love, and they don't have to stick to science and commerce per se, and they can really pick up a lot of subjects that they want.
Skill building is actually taking place in Manav Sthali School, I must say.
Yes, we are trying. Our teachers are brilliant and they're experienced, and they're genuinely trying best to make all the students not only skill ready, but ready with stuff like creative thinking and critical thinking and decision making. Considering there are so many choices for everything, I think decision making becomes really one of the very important aspects. You're young, you would have definitely more choices on your plate to decide from.
Indeed.
As kids, we were very, very clear. Science hai, commerce hai, humanities. I just pick up one and you're ready for the future. So yeah.
Yes, ma'am. This reminds me, Educationalist of the Year Award in 2019. Certificate of Excellence for your dedication in the field of education. Then Second Wave Superheroes by NewsX. After that, Manav Suraksha was initiated by you, and your school even has received so many awards under your guidance. So I think you are actually making true Manavs for the society, who are well aware about the integrity, who value cultural diversity, and they knew that what excellence actually means.
I think we should offer you a job as a teacher, because you totally understand the philosophy at Manav Sthali School. The name itself says Manav Sthali, a place where manavs are nurtured.
Yeah.
In the era that we are working and living, I think the most essential thing is to develop manav, which is basically develop humanity, which NEP lately is also focusing a lot on value education. There is happiness curriculum. So there are a lot of things which lead to a self-content person, which eventually will be able to give better back to the community. So yes, the only thing I'd like to change in your sentences, it's not me and it's not my leadership. I believe that we are a team at Manav Sthali and we work like a team. There is no leader and there is no junior. We work like one team, and I always tell everyone that, it's the system that says a principal has to get an award, but it's just that because I'm the face of the school as a principal, so it's the award is on my name, but actually the award is for the entire team, because without the team, we cannot execute anything the way we are, and we've been nurturing students, giving back to the community in forms of doctors, engineers, actors, designers, chefs, since last 68 years. So it's all credit to the team. Yes.
Ma'am, this thing is actually the reflection that inclusivity is not just in the education, it's not just in the learning system of the school, but in the hearts of everyone present in the school of yours.
Yes, and we have a lot to learn. I still remember I attended one of the trainings under the CPB trainings, which was about inclusivity. And sometimes you take things back, which and you try to implement them. So we have been trying to bring many changes on inclusive front. So we started with this event called Udan,
Okay.
almost 3 years back, which is basically for children with special needs. And we all feel very, proud is not the word. We feel very human by doing this event. And when I say we, I not only mean my staff, but I also mean that our students, because I see when we talk to them, so all the CWSN children come here and they compete with each other, and it's incredible what they can do. And I think that's a true form of inclusivity. Yes, we have to still go one step ahead and be capable to send those kids in a regular competition also.
Yes.
But for now, because I know being in the system, normally if there are competition, we would not be able to send a CWSN child for it. So when we created this competition, the idea was only that they should also get a platform to showcase the talents. They might have one weakness, but they do have way more strengths than one can see. And that those events really showcase it's you will have to come and witness it to see the magic that they bring to the stage, the confidence that they have. And since last years, I remember the first year we did struggle to get schools send their CWSN kids because their safety and their special needs need to be catered to. But this year we had to stop the entries because we had more than 150 entries, and we said we cannot handle the needs for so many. We do have 3 counselors and special educators in our Manav Sthali School, and all our teachers have always attended inclusive training programs, but still, so we had to stop this year. And very happy to see that more schools are taking part in it, and I'm hoping that down a decade, those children should be able to take part in any event, and they should not be tagging of them being a special child also.
We can just tag a person, we cannot take away their talent. That is the main thing.
Very nice.
Balancing the screen time, like NEP also suggests that we need to cater to digital learning as well. We need to come out with so many ideas that can balance the screen time and books, because both are equally important. So how should we do it?
See, as I said earlier, consciously make an effort to cut the screen time, and that's, we cannot be the parents or the educators who only tell kids, because you have to do the thing first. As Gandhi ji said, implement on yourself before you start teaching it, right? So I think as educators, as parents, we must consciously cut down the screen time and then tell students also, our children also, to do that. Also with, as I mentioned earlier, how together with Rachna Sagar is coming with kits where activity-based books are there. So in a way, if they are activity-based books, children will not feel that they are studying. So they'll be more focused on doing that activity and being more involved and interactive in the class. I think that brings a lot of balance in the screen time. And also a conscious screen time of what you're watching is also very important.
Yes.
Right. So if there is a classroom, some people come and tell me, but you are teaching on the screens. But that screen is very different. First, it pauses after every some time because the teacher teaching does that. Also, it's little far away, and your mind is actually able to learn and grasp something from it consciously.
Yeah.
However, when you're on Insta or a Facebook or any other social media, you're just scrolling.
Yes,
mindlessly, right? So that kind of screen time obviously is way more harmful than a conscious screen time. So just choose a more conscious way of screen time. Choose what you're looking at and pick up books which are way more interactive and activity based. So I think that brings a balance.
So this is a calculative move. Like, some words are there which are always tagged in a negative way. Calculative is something like you are being cunning, or you are taking as a very thoughtful thing to be in your favor. But calculative move is something you have just told me, that you have to be very mindful while scrolling the things, while choosing the options, while choosing the online platform to learn and all. That's great, ma'am. Like I am even learning so many things sitting right behind you, right beside you, I must say. And this is really a great opportunity to learn from a person who is leading with the heart. You are leading with the heart, not just with the mind. Like this is a great combination that you have intellect and the heart to make the kids bloom in your
I
premises.
think whoever comes into the world of education eventually does have to balance it, because we are dealing with the future of our country,
Indeed.
right? And their children. No matter how much this generation feels that they're already old enough, but end of the day we know that they're kids, and so you do tend to have a softer heart. And trust me, all my staff, all my experienced teachers have way more bigger heart than I have. So I'll say, let's not do this for children, and they'll say, no, we have to. You'll have to let go of it. Let's forgive them. So teachers are way more, because I think they're way more connected to the
Yes.
children on a day-to-day basis. So I think it's with, I can say that on behalf of all my fellow principals and teachers and educationists, that we all try and balance. We're trying our best. The rest, obviously, we'll see what happens.
Ma'am, teachers while being in classroom is a the only point of contact for a student to talk, to learn, to clear their doubts. Everything is just one-stop solution. The teacher in the class. But now, as they are connected, after the schools as well. So, any particular say on that particular situation?
It's a tricky, tricky question. Yes, everything has two sides. So while digital world gives us a lot of access to a lot of other things and good knowledge and good information, connectivity with our loved ones far away, at the same time, as you're saying, it does open us to wrong information, misinformation, misleading information. So the only advice I can give to students is be aware of what you are reading, what you are listening, who are you taking advice from. When you're so well aware and when you're so well exposed to the world, then definitely don't miss out on that instinct voice, that comes from within all of us, that this is right or this is not right, or I'm not sure. When your heart says I'm not sure, then please connect with someone that you're sure, because you cannot close the world of digitization, but then just be more precautious when you're dealing with it.
So basically, we need to trust that inner self.
Yes.
The basic thing, that the first thing that we should trust upon.
Yes.
After the teacher thing.
Yes. So don't ignore when you're feeling it's not right. There's something. So please connect with your parents or teachers to clear whether this is right or not, with an adult that you can trust.
Ma'am, like now we are talking about the thought process of a person, of an individual, I must say, not just the students, of an individual. Like I always believe in the thing that when I am standing right in the front of the mirror, if I can say that yes, this is right, I'll go for it. If my heart doesn't allow me, no, this is not good, I'll not do that. So what is in your opinion, what is your say on this? Like, how should a student balance between this right or wrong thing?
I think it's an art that one should develop from childhood, and that's where the role of parents and schools come in. So as parents in schools, we keep telling small little ones, the little tots, that this is not right, this is not how you say good morning, or this is not how you behave with your classmates. So from there we start developing this feeling of good and right, this decision making of good and right, good and wrong. So I think that's where it starts, and we must keep practicing it. There's another thing that I always tell my students, that we all are born with this magical power, which is called willpower. But if you don't exercise it, then it will rust.
Okay.
Right? So, and it comes on very small places, so we don't have to talk about big situations. Your willpower is to get up in the morning on time, get ready on time, reach your school on time, do your assignments on time. So basically, even if you exercise your willpower as a student there, you're able to exercise it.
Ma'am, we talked about students' willpower, we talked about their decision making skills, we talked about NEP, we talked about the basic habits that make them a good human being, because we all are human beings, we are good at art. We just need to be that particular sort of a person that cannot just hurt anyone. And at the same time, now when we comes to academics, then what do you think? How should we proceed to it? Like, what is the right approach to lead to the academic growth? I would not say academic success. The success is a very different thing for everyone. It could have a very different definition for you, for me, for any other thing. So, academic growth.
I think the first step is to accept that you're a student, and as a student, your job is to study. Lately this generation forgets that they are student. So they want to be a blogger very soon. They want to be an influencer very soon. They want to be a YouTuber very soon. Yes, you can all that be, but let the right time come. I've been raised by my parents with very clear thing that when you're a student, enjoy being a student. When you're a child, enjoy being a child.
Yeah.
Right? So when my kids ask me that why can't we do this, I tell them because that's not the right age to do. So as of now, enjoy being a student, and when you say enjoy being a student, with great power comes great responsibility. So you have a power to enjoy, be a child, not worry, but comes with the responsibility of focusing on your academics. That's your job to do. So first accept that. There are many diversions. I totally agree that this generation has way more challenge to focus on studies and academics because of these diversions, which we never had as kids. But you're the generation that has done wonders and will continue to do wonders. This is a very small thing. So just focus on your academics, attend school regularly, be mentally present in your class when your teacher is teaching. Have a planned schedule where you know that by when you should be able to finish a particular chapter or a particular topic or a particular subject. So have a timetable at home also. Maybe with some flexibility. Obviously, we don't want you to be very rigid on everything. Pick up the right books. Something that I know that together with you provide with a question bank, they provide with last year papers, they provide with fresh sample papers to practice. So yes, definitely do work on the previous question papers, do work on sample papers. Work in a mode where you put a timer and you sit as if you're sitting for an exam. When you're able to do that, I think academic wise you will keep growing. And something very important is, don't hesitate to ask a question in a doubting case. Because some students in this generation sometimes feel very embarrassed to ask a question. So again, be a child. We still ask questions. We still have doubts. No one can claim that they know everything.
Yeah, indeed.
Right? So why students have this pressure? So they have to stop leaving this pressure behind and learn to ask doubts to the teacher, learn to question and then discuss and be open to it. Schools provide extra classes, remedial classes. Please attend those. Clear your doubts, clear your understanding.
Ma'am, board exams usually bring pressure to the students. That is a term that they are the most scared of.
Yes.
How should we help them to release that?
I little differ there. I think that used to be the case. With CUT coming in, with so many entrance exams coming in, I don't think so. Students really take CBSE board paper that seriously and are that scared. Like us, we used to trem when the point of board exam used to come. Yes, there are still students who will have those feelings of anxiety because you're going to another school. I think that's main chunk of preparing for boards. If you go to a different unknown area and the teachers are very unknown to you, so that definitely builds a pressure. But again, talk about what you're feeling. We have counselors in schools. Every school has a counselor. Talk to your parents, talk to your teachers about what you're feeling. But I can only give her advice what I have really witnessed in my life. I feel students really stay up very late at night to prepare for boards or other exams, and then they sleep till late. And I think that's not really right. By science, one should sleep at night, let your body rest, get up a little earlier, and your focus will be way more, your learning ability will be way more. So if students can start trying to sleep on time and then get up in the morning to study, pick up your book. I think that should help prepare for boards well.
Yes, ma'am. The teachers usually help the learners to bridge the gaps. What they want to learn, what they should learn, and from where they should learn. These are the 3 steps, if fixed well, that will bring success to the kids. That they will get what they want, and their parents will be happy, their teachers will be happy, they themselves will be happy.
True.
So, how teachers should bridge this gap?
See, we're no more in an era where what teachers says we will listen. We are in an era where students question everything. So I think in these times, a teacher needs to be a mentor, a teacher needs to be a friend, a teacher needs to be a listening ear. So yes, a teacher definitely needs to have a bond with the child, as we discussed earlier. That emotional connect these days needs to be there for a child to open up to a teacher. In my school we talked about this a lot, that the person who is helping should never feel great that I'm helping, because you cannot help if the other person doesn't accept your help, right?
That's the point.
Right? So a person who's seeking for help and a person who's giving help actually stands very equal. So unless a child will not seek help, a teacher cannot help. And the students these days will only seek help when they feel comfortable with it. When they feel they'll not be judged for asking in their mind the dumbest question, which will definitely not be a dumbest question, but that's what they build in their minds.
Ma'am, NEP actually has made things very easier. It has made things interact for the students. Also, if I can just recall, in school time, students usually used to make the things like they used to make some game or something like that, where the kids of the person's class used to be giving terms to the very lame things. We used to mock students about it. So I think that is also helping in building the confidence among kids.
Yes, I think what NEP has done lately is, so as private school and placed in a city for last 68 years, I can say that very easily that we were doing a lot of things, but not consciously.
Yeah.
So now what NEP has done is, it has bring that consciousness, which is very important. You have to be conscious of what you're doing. So now our teachers are very conscious that this is a happy curriculum, or this is Jadoo Ka Pitara, or this is a playway method, or this is an integrated project. So we might have been doing all of that, but we were doing it without a particular goal. It came as an idea and one would execute it. Now there is a lot of thought and planning that goes in, and when you well plan, you can definitely do wonders in a classroom as a teacher. So yes, and I'm sure tools like AI, out of classroom activities, visits, textbooks, we have been using together with since I think more than 30 years. All my senior teachers, PGTs, really depend on them. They do refer, we use NCERT books, they're brilliant books, but as a reference books, always books like Together With are used. And so together with all that, I think we're able to maintain a balance and deliver.
Ma'am, with this, we are learning a lot, the viewers must be learning a lot. What tips or what suggestions you would like to give to the teachers as well as to the students, so that there could be a coordination and balance for both of them to balance the learning according to the NEP and the changing education system?
See, to teachers, again, please keep changing with the time. We do not work in a job where we can say that in my time this was not happening. So our educationist has to keep changing with time and have to keep adopting to the new changes of NEP and their wonderful changes. We cannot be rigid, and I think COVID has taught us. I clearly remember our Sanskrit or Hindi teachers who were very experienced were having a very tough challenge accepting to teach online, but I think they did a wonderful job. So we all just need to keep changing with time, accept the changes that are coming, adopt to the new books and new strategies and integrated projects and all that NEP and NCF is bringing on board. Accept the revolution in education that is coming with open-mindedness. And yes, I think that's and please remember as teachers that we don't have to be perfect, because students will not approach you when they feel you're believing that you're perfect. For students, the only thing that I will request in this time is come to school. Even if you're in 12, even if you're preparing for CUT, even if you're preparing for IIT entrance or GE entrance, please come to school. Come and witness the changes that we all are bringing for you. Come and witness and be part of this journey of where schooling is the foundation of a child future. So, and it's the best time of your life. So don't miss out on that. So come to school, be part of it, be respectful. If a teacher accepting that I'm not perfect, then you accept that it's okay not to be perfect and don't mock it. Be there, be in that journey, discuss with teacher, open Google, open everything, and I think we should be good to go.
That is actually the things a student need for this time, ma'am. Thank you so much for this wonderful session. Actually, the conversation is coming to the end, but it's not like the thing that I want to.
No, I think everything should come at some point. I'm sure you have another podcast to do, and I have school to manage.
Yes.
Yes. It was lovely talking to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.